volunteer and give back to my community in some way. And so I'm really excited about being a part of this team. So
glad you're on board. Okay, has everybody had an opportunity to look at the agenda for today? And if so, take a motion to approve the agenda. And we second.
Was this work? Test. Now it does. Approve agenda as submitted.
Kathy Heisey Callahan, second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And there are none. Okay, the minutes from last, review those, that if any comments or changes. And if not, they'll take a motion to accept those.
Kathy Heisey Callahan, I move approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
Second,
Gary Sugar at large, second.
Gary. Any other comments? Seeing none, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed.
One abstention. El Paso County was not here last month.
Okay. And note takers got that. Okay. Jared, anybody with a comment?
So, Mr. Chair, I ask anyone who's online to please use the raise hand function if they'd like to make a public comment at this time. And anyone in the room who would like to provide public comment to go to podium. While we're waiting for those two things, I'll let the committee know that we did not receive any advance requests for public comment. We did not receive any written public comment. We would distribute it to the committee members in advance of this meeting. Having said all that, I see no hands raised. I see no one at the podium. I think we can move forward at your discretion.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll hold up for just a second for Danelle. Danelle, we have you up next.
Yes, thank you. Sorry about the delay there. So today we have our Unified Planning Work Program, and we're asking for a recommendation for adoption today. This is our planning document that basically details spend the that is provided to us for planning, and that comes to us from FHWA and FTA. You saw this 2 months ago when we released it for public comment. We did hold a 30-day public comment period as we're federally required to. We did not receive any public comments. We did make 2 small changes to the text to address FHWA comments. So we added to say that if we from the state of Colorado CDOT, we would utilize that funding if it becomes available. We also made an adjustment to add the specific dollar amount that we will spend on complete streets items. And basically that is a federal requirement through the IIJA that we have to spend 2.5% of our FHWA planning money on that effort, which was a big dollar amount. So FHWA asked us to put that into it. Other than that, it is exactly the same document that you saw a couple of months ago. I'm happy to answer any questions or kind of go through the highlights of that. But we are, I'll open it to questions so we don't belabor the conversation if it's not needed.
Okay. Any question? You need any explanation or further detail, Kevin?
I'm tracking.
Okay. Yes.
Welland Clark, El Paso County. I compared this to the one we've used in the past. It looks almost nearly identical, some tweaks and mods. The question I do have is from a financial standpoint, based on a few months ago where the state did a rescission and pulled money back and kind of threw things in a tailspin. Is this plan, because I didn't see it was heavily funding oriented. It seems like it's, correct me if I'm wrong, this would be resistance to that type if the state tries to do more rescission funding. Is that true or not true?
So this just includes the funding that comes to us directly from FHWA and FTA. So there is potential for us to not get as much funding as as we have in here. The actual revenue may be less than what is forecast, but it's not an issue where like the legislature could take away the funding like they did with the multimodal funding. That was a state fund, so.
So then in other words, my understanding is this is robust enough given what happens with the deficits the state government is experiencing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
This should not be impacted by state budgeting.
What factors would reduce the numbers?
So every year, we get forecasts basically of
Right.
what they're anticipating will come in through the federal process. And then at the end of each fiscal year, they kind of do a reconciliation of whether the revenue met that forecast or not. This year it actually did not, so we will have a slightly smaller budget next year because of that. But that's just kind of an annual process. Sometimes it's a little bit more than we thought it would be. Sometimes it's a little less.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Gary.
Gary Sugar at large. On page 29, it talks about one of the project studies is SMART for 14.8 million. Can you just remind me again what that's going to do?
Yes. So that is Springs by the city. And they are seeking additional federal grant funding for it. So there is some PPRTA project funding associated with it, but they're also going after some discretionary grant funds. Whether or not they get those funds or not is yet to be seen. But basically, my understanding of it, and we can always get more fund or more information from the city itself. But it is for infrastructure, not infrastructure, but intelligent transportation system. Like the ability for lights to be connected, those types of things. I don't know if it will be. I don't know that implementation of specific projects has been identified yet. I'm not sure that the scope of work is that detailed at this point. I think they need to do some study first, but I'm not 100% sure with that. I'm happy to get more details from Colorado Springs, though.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, Clark, El Paso County, motion, I withdraw my well, and Clark, El Paso.
Say aye.
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 There are none. Thank you, Danelle.
Thank you.
I'm going to have a little consultant presentation. There have been some excellent traffic safety projects and studies done in the Pikes Peak region over the last few years, but regionally, we've sort of been missing a project that gives transplant and we adopted plans. The program. We have an alert. Okay, so we've got funding for plans, which then leads to implementation or construction funding for the projects listed in the plan. So much of the Front Range of Colorado is entities. Locally, Colorado Springs and the city of Fountain are currently conducting these plans within their own boundaries. So same type of plan. So as the regional organization, we want to make sure everybody gets a bite at the apple. So City of Woodland Park and PP are planning to conduct for the rest of the region. That's our whole 3-county council of governments area from Fairplay to Manitou Springs to East El Paso County. The firm of Felsberg, Holt, and Ulevig was hired to lead the regional plan, and they've conducted several of these plans in Colorado for jurisdictions that span the spectrum as far as safety goals and political sentiment and other factors. They did a pretty versatile job coming up with a strategy for our own unique region. So we appreciate that. Work began on the project early this year, and we need to wrap up by spring 2026 in order for folks to have their implementation grant requests ready for the funding opportunity that year. So around June 2026, there will be about an announcement of about a and so being done by this will give everybody a chance to be ready for that. Let's see. We're going to connect with every jurisdiction as well as regional partners like our military jurisdictions. We're going to talk to everybody. The plan is voluntary, create specific financial commitments. It's just to help get our thoughts together us and make sure our regional projects are eligible for that funding. So if that makes sense, just putting up and turn it over to our consultants to give a little PowerPoint.
Great. Listen, good afternoon, everyone. My name's I am the consultant project manager, and please. So just a quick agenda for these slides. I just wanted to go through a bit on the safety action plan refresher, the background in terms of the grant that some important elements that are part of this plan, that the leadership commitment and the engagement crash analysis, and then I'll end with just the project schedule and one of the kind of approach. To and a perspective to how we can improve safety objectives, road safety, and then it also goes to vehicle technology and the principle. Around these sort of the design, the enhanced action plan, safety projects or safety interventions that we can develop based on crash data, based on things of that, and then find all for next for say should be please update is really important. Next slide, please. All these agencies understand their needs because they understand that us will make sure that everybody that the through what we saw in the data. We This slide provides the KSI crashes, which stands for killed and seriously injured crashes. The SS4A program's focus, as I mentioned earlier, is the KSI crashes. We want to eliminate these really severe crashes and deaths associated with them. As you can see, even the severe crashes, and if you would go to the next slide, we can look at the crashes without I-25. Here you see in green the seriously injured, and in yellow, the fatalities. The fatalities are holding steady, which is why we're, the safety action plan hopes to break this curve, for example, and make sure that we can reduce this number significantly. The green, it's a little bit of variability, but if I had to say, I'd say that it's also more or less the same with just natural variability in data. So we're seeing that the overall KSI crash picture is holding steady, and it provides us with an opportunity to improve safety. The next is a map that just shows an example. It shows the KSI crashes as opposed to earlier, which were the total crashes. And as we can see, these KSI crashes are obviously a lot fewer than the total, but they're also tracking along some of the major roadways. So they are going to be, analyzed closely. Next is a couple of pie charts here. We just wanted to touch a little, get a little deeper into the crash history by sub area. So as I mentioned, we divided the project area into sub areas based on topology and urban, rural, suburban. Most of the crashes are occurring in the suburban urban area. The total crashes and the severe, the KSI crashes are pretty much the same, just a few percent here or there, with suburban urban obviously being the highest because of the exposure to traffic, just higher volumes, and the rural being the least in the eastern portion. To touch upon the crash types by sub-area, this is very crucial for us because this will guide our strategies, and we will develop different safety strategies for each sub area because the crash patterns are different. In the suburban urban areas, for both total and severe crashes, rear end crashes are primary concern, followed by broadside and fixed object for severe crashes, which are a lot of times broadside is of course a very intersection based crash type, which would be expected in a sub area, such as suburban. In the rural areas, we're seeing a lot of rollover crashes, which are usually associated with very high severities, and those are followed by fixed object crashes again. The mountainous area has similar, fixed object is the highest, followed by rollover, but something of concern that we are seeing, although it is not number 3 in the list, but it is something of concern, is the head-on crashes in these rural highways. So these are, again, things that we will keep in mind as we develop focus areas for concerted efforts for safety interventions. Next slide, please. So just to touch upon, as in, this is our map of where we're seeing a lot of the fixed object crashes, again, following a lot of the main highways, especially in the mountainous rural section. Touching upon crash locations. Oh, this is the broadside. Okay. Mostly in the suburban urban areas. Going to crash locations. What differentiates the suburban urban area from the rural and mountainous is, of course, the location. As expected, as you would see in a more population dense area, most crashes occurring at intersections, or a lot of the severe crashes occurring at intersections, as opposed to rural and mountainous, where we're seeing that 66 and 80% are occurring at segments or non-intersection areas. So again, those countermeasures that you apply, or by countermeasures, I mean what improvements we make to improve safety, which is we usually refer to as countermeasures. Intersection-based ones are very different from what you would obviously put in for, for example, a lot of rollover crashes on a curvy mountainous section of roadway. So for next steps in our analysis, we will be developing these focus areas. So we're starting to see a picture emerge in terms of the crash types in each sub area. And we also are looking at contributing factors for these crashes. It could be driver behavior, it could be other elements. And we're going to take those together and develop focus areas. In reality, we would love to try and mitigate all the crashes that we see, but for more efficiency purposes, we have to develop focus areas for concerted efforts and concerted investments to improve safety and see what is going to have the best impact in improving safety. Part of the safety analysis is development of 2 networks that we refer to as the high injury network and the high risk network. As high injury network, as the name suggests, it's identifying roadways and intersections where we're seeing the highest number of these severe crashes. So how we develop it is we develop a weighted number of crash frequency, which is basically giving a higher weight to higher severity crashes and seeing which intersections in the network are hotspots and which segments are hotspots. And we combine them to create a network. And then we focus our safety interventions on this network. So it gives us a framework to work within. One of the other elements that is a requirement of the Safety Act of SS4A program is what's called a systemic safety analysis, which is basically saying that we are not going to wait for crashes to occur, but we will try to apply safety interventions proactively. So basically make safety improvements in areas that require them without waiting for a crash to occur. So that's associated with high risk elements, so causal factors. For example, if we're seeing that there are a lot of crashes, run off the road crashes at steep curves, steep or sharp curves, we might have a area-wide intervention of providing guardrails, for example, and say we're not going to wait for a car to fall off this curve, but we will apply anywhere there are sharp curves. There could be a guardrail placed, and that'll proactively improve safety without waiting for a crash to occur. So that's an example of a systemic application of safety countermeasure. And the last one is, of course, development of projects. So we want to prioritize, develop projects, identify hotspots, develop projects, and then prioritize them based on their safety needs. For the project next steps, it's basically I just want to touch upon the schedule. I think Jason had mentioned that we want to have all of this, basically an adopted safety action plan, which we would come to you again to make sure that it's acceptable to the CAC as well as the board, and have that adopted safety action plan ready to go before the next call for grants comes around in 2026. My next slide is the social pinpoint that I'd mentioned earlier. So we will share this link, and like I said, we'd really appreciate you sharing this. The idea is we would like to get as much community and stakeholder input as we can over this at this location where people can make a comment, drop a pin, and that gives our safety action team a very a view from the community as to locations of concern, what the particular concerns are. It could be near misses, it could be speeding, distracted driving, actual crashes they might have had, things of that nature. So all such safety related comments would be most welcome. And that, I believe, is the end of my presentation. So happy to answer any questions.
To El Paso County, because El Paso County has been growing faster. It's outpacing the state average for population growth. And how do you, I guess, measure success? You know, if the SS4A gets implemented, do you measure success by a decrease in rate or by the sheer numbers being reported?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So as part of the SS4A program, we want to focus on numbers. So we don't want to get things muddied by rates. I mean, crash rates and all of those make a lot of sense. We do want to consider frequency, but the frequency is just number of crashes per year, could be number of crashes per mile per year. So those are our metrics. So when we develop our key performance indicators, and when I talked about transparency and progress tracking, we want to track the number of KSIs, the number of fatalities separately, number of seriously injured. So yeah, that is our goal, is zero crashes, not just, you know, a lower rate, a significant reduction or zero. So that will be our focus. We will look at you know, population, but we want to, that might just be a cursory review, but our idea is focusing entirely on crashes and the crash characteristics itself and its contributing factor, and then coming up with safety countermeasures that work towards that. So if it is a design countermeasure, it could be like guardrails or better curves. If it's a education countermeasure, it could be about speeding, it could be about drunk driving or those kind of things, or helmet use. or if those would be under the behavioral side of things. So we want to do design, behavior, enforcement. There's multiple.
Comment. I do have one thing for clarity. The grants, are those paid directly to the individual government agencies, or do they come through council of government, or how's that process work?
The study grant actually is coming through the city of Woodland Park.
Okay.
They're actually the recipient, and the project is being managed by PPACG. I believe the construction or implementation grants would go direct to the jurisdiction.
Okay.
With the project.
And I'm guessing there's an oversight through this office, or?
It would be FHWA.
Okay.
Yeah, the Safe Streets for All.
Just wanted to be clear. I wasn't sure.
Sure. Yeah. Good question. Yeah. And
Okay.
I know this has been a lot to throw at everybody, but it's a major project, though. It's well funded. It's highly scientific. So we just wanted to kind of give you the full measure, but appreciate your attention.
Thank you. And I am seeing no other questions. So thank you very much, Jason.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
On our next topic, is John covering that, or Danelle?
I think I will start it and John will come and
Okay.
save me.
Okay.
So we wanted to follow up on an item that was brought to the Community Advisory Committee last month, which was our CDOT 10-year plan for the PPACG area. CDOT basically creates a 10-year list or a 10-year plan for the state, and includes projects from each of our areas, including PPACG. Last month, the Transportation Advisory Committee and this committee recommended the approval of the list of 10-year plan projects to our board of directors. However, at the board of directors meeting earlier this month, the motion to approve actually failed by a 6-10 vote. A second motion was made, basically to say thank you to CDOT for all of the work that they did to compile the plan, but also asking that the state look at providing more funding for roads and for capacity improvements. The board kind of expressed that the CDOT Region 2 staff really had done the best that they could, and we're very appreciative of the work that our Region 2 staff has done within the parameters given by the state. They discussed several different items and expressed some frustration with the project list and also the process itself. I did list in the memo just a couple of items that were discussed by the board. So we discussed the definition of mobility hub as opposed to a park and ride or a transit center, partially because there's some legislation surrounding transit centers, and those the definition of that would potentially have impacts to local governments. We talked a little bit about a lack of capacity building, both in the list and just in general within the state. And there was also some frustration with kind of the process as a whole, not just of the 10-year list, but of transportation planning, I think, as a whole in the state, and a more strong desire for a more bottom-up process and input to CDOT's processes. So following that meeting, Shane Ferguson, the transportation director for Region 2, took that list to the Executive Management Committee for CDOT. I believe they met yesterday. So we didn't have any information to put into the memo at that point in time. We have heard from Shane today that CDOT would like to bring a suggestion or a couple of suggestions through the committee process. And they would like to bring that to the board at the August 13th meeting. To do that, of course, that would mean we would have to ask our TAC and our CAC to have a special off schedule one item meeting next week. So we will be asking you all if you would be willing to do that and sending out a poll to see what timing would work for you so that we can bring that to the board next week.
Can that be done virtually or do we?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Virtually. Yeah.
Okay.
It would likely be very short. I do have, of course, John Lisatos, our transportation director here, and I believe Rob Fry, the planning and environmental manager at CDOT Region 2 is also on the line today in case you have any questions. But just because of the nature of the item and the fact that we are now asking for a special meeting, we wanted to make sure you were informed and bring it on this agenda.
Yeah, Rob, do you have anything that you'd like to add or clarify? That was perfect. I'm not sure why you thought you'd need me, but I'm here if there are any other questions.
Looks like Rob's unmuted, but not coming through.
No, yeah, I'll jump in. Thanks, Danielle. I think you covered that well. I was looking through my notes when you were talking. I think you covered everything. So, yeah, we met with the our executive management yesterday, presented the list, and went through that. And as Danielle indicated, I believe Shane Ferguson's going to have some conversations later this week, and then we'd like to bring a new project, potentially a new project list for you all to review and hopefully approve again and move this process forward. So just to give you an idea of the timing of the 10-year plan, we submitted the draft. We presented that yesterday to our executive oversight committee, and then we need to have a final plan to them by September 2nd. The reason for that deadline is so then they can take that list of projects and then run those projects through our greenhouse gas modeling, which will take several months to do. And then at the end of that, it will get approved presented to the TC and hopefully for approval at the end of this year, early next year. So that's where we're at. And yeah, can answer any questions if you have any.
Not seeing any.
All right, well, then a nuts and bolts question, since there's a kind of a long silence there. Just moving forward again, we'd like to have a virtual meeting with the TAC first. But again, we also would like to have a virtual meeting with this group next week. So is there a day towards the end of the week, let's assume like Thursday or Friday, maybe even Wednesday if Thursday and Friday are bad, or again, we could get you all on the line. Now, prior to that, again, Donnell will send out a doodle poll, but there's a difference of a 5-day doodle poll versus a 2-day doodle poll. So if you guys can kind of give us some sort of a hint as to what days we might be able to establish a virtual quorum, that would be great. And again, as Rob had mentioned, there will be a revised project list. And so once we get that from CDOT, we'll send that along to you along with the official agenda / meeting notice. So you'll have a little more information to look at and beforehand. Plus, again, we'd like to make sure that we try to have TAC meet first, which is the jurisdictional representatives. And they should be meeting, again, we're going to hopefully get them to meet earlier in the week, hopefully Monday or Tuesday. But Wednesday if we need to. And again, if we need to, we've done it in the past. We've met with them at 12 and you guys at 1 o'clock. So we'll do whatever, but we just try to keep the process moving along.
Any comments or suggestions on timing?
Yeah, so Gary Sugared at large, I'm out of town starting Tuesday, so I will not be available Tuesday until the next Tuesday.
What if I got 2 cups and a very long string? No? All right.
No.
All right. That's one hit to the quorum there, Donnell, but we'll see about everybody.
Yeah.
Thursday or Friday would be the best for me. Wednesday's not good.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone online? Any comments or?
I'd say also Thursday and Friday work for me as well.
Mr. Chair, Steve Schleicher, Thursday, Friday works for me as well.
Steve who?
Schleicher?
Hey, Steve, I don't think you got introduced as the new member yet. we'll have to do that after this item.
No, I appreciate it. I was a tad bit late with all the hail up in Monument, so my apologies.
Okay. Okay, from what I'm hearing, Thursday or Friday is okay. So we'll just wait until we hear from Danelle and go from there.
Yep. And again, we'll to the extent possible, we'll get it to you as soon as possible. But again, it is an official meeting, so we will have to make sure that we follow all of the posting requirements of 24 hours and all that other stuff. So if you guys, once we get that out, if you've got any questions, just feel free to call us and we can talk through anything we need to talk through.
And since we have a membership change, what's the quorum now? Okay. So we should be.
I believe it's a high five and a thumbs up.
I think we can handle that.
Oh, wait, no, that was 6. That was 6. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. We'll wait till we hear from you, Danelle.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it very
John.
much.
Danelle. Okay. Any other comments or suggestions? Oh, Gary, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would just like to echo, there was an editorial in today's paper, and the writer was expressing concern that the state continues to take funding that is designed for highways and transportation for highways and moving it to multimodal, moving it to other areas. And I assume our board has that same frustration, and I don't know how we can reiterate that, but there's just, it seems like we're going so green and trying to do all these things that we're creating more problems because we're not developing enough capacity. And it just, I wish the state would focus a little more on capacity and improving the quality of the existing roads and doing it appropriately. The editorial also made a comment that in too many cases, we're not fixing the roads. We're just taking off the top layer and putting another layer of asphalt down on top of it, spending a lot of money doing that. But then that's destroyed in a matter of 4 or 5 years because we're not fixing the core problem in the roadbed and doing those types of things. It's more expensive, takes more time, but then it also produces better results in the long term. I just traveled to Norway, and they were building roads in Norway, and the roadbed that they were putting in was rock and gravel to this level. And they have huge freeze thaw just like we do here. And that's part of the way they handle that. And when you're driving on the roads in Norway, they're unbelievably smooth and in good shape. So it's a classic case, you get what you pay for. And I think we're so short and so tight in the budget, we're trying to do fixes that in the long term aren't really serving the taxpayers in this state. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, anyone else? Sorry, I missed you a second ago. Yourself, since you're on.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So everyone, my name is Steve Schleicher, so I'm a new citizen at large. I also currently serve as the El Paso County Clerk and Recorder, and I'm elated to be joining you all. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else comment? Okay, schedule is going to be amended as Danelle sends the information out. And seeing no other comments, we are adjourned. Thank you. Kathy, Kevin, the packet from today's meeting with all those